Video. Why can't I get that? No. I'm gonna redo that. Hey everyone, Krissy here with 2 Sheep 1 Wheat, and today's video is an overview and review, if you choose to stick around for it, on Red Rising. Let's get to it. Okay, so in Red Rising, it is a 1 to 6 player game, and what you're basically doing is that you have a hand full of cards and you're trying to manipulate all your cards throughout the whole game so that you can score the most points at the end. Now your cards do many different things, and we will get into that. So let's get into the board, because that is where most of the things are going on in this game. Many things on the board, so let's just go ahead and start with the fleet track. You have fleet tokens here that allow you to go up on the track to gain you different points. You have the Institute over here. You have your cards, all the deck right here. You have helium tokens right here, which are some resources. And you also have 4 locations on the board. Now these all correspond basically with color and the option 2 with the little icon here. So this one would be for the fleet track, Mars would be for the helium tokens, Luna would correspond with the sovereign token, and the Institute, you would be able to place your Institute cubes on the institution. Now something else that goes with the game that isn't on the board is the rising die and the, like I said for Luna, the sovereign token. Now to gain any of those actions, the effects, or any of the benefits from the board, you're going to have to go into your options here. So you have 2 options for your turn. You can either lead or you can scout. Now leading is when you are taking a card from your hand and you are deploying it onto one of the locations here. So once you place or deploy your card down on a location, you can gain, so then you would be gaining the deploy ability, which is on every single card right here. They are all different. Now sometimes you can go up the fleet track, add cubes to the Institute, or you can take some of these helium tokens here. Now another way, so after you are done deploying your card here, you get an option to draw a card from any of the other 3 locations that you didn't deploy a card into. So whenever you are drawing a card from either of these locations, you get the benefit that is at the top. Now if I wanted to take the gardener, let's just say I did that, I would gain a helium token. Now say that there were no cards there that looked appealing to you, there is another option that you can do, and that is drawing from the deck. You would be able to draw from the deck, and because technically you're not gaining any bonuses from the locations, that is when the die comes in, the rising die. You would then roll it and you would gain the benefit that is on it. Now it does have the fleet track, it does have the Institute, it does have the helium tokens, and it has the sovereign token. Now other things that it has on here, like the eye that we got, that is basically drawing from the deck and placing a card without gaining its deploy ability, and you do not gain the location ability either. Now there's another one, which is the X here. This means that you can banish a top card from any of the 4 locations. So let's just say we'll go ahead and banish that. So that is how you would do that. Now if you, let's just say that you have all the cards in your hand because you worked your way, you gained a whole bunch of cards that you really liked, and they all work well together, and they will trigger multiple benefits through your whole hand. Then you also have the option to scout. Now scouting is simply drawing from the deck and placing on a location, and wherever you are placing it on the location, you would gain that option. For this one would be the Institute, so you get to place a cube in the institution here. And that is basically how the board works, and kind of how you're moving everything around that will help you get the cards that you need for your hand. Now a few things that you get as a player, you will choose who gets the first player token, which is this nice little metal moon that we got because we did get the collector's edition. So all of the cubes are all in metal as well, and so is the sovereign token. So you will have to choose a first player for that. Now everybody will get a house tile, and every time you gain the sovereign token, everybody's benefit here is different. This one allows you to move up the fleet track. For Mars here, it'll allow you to take one of these helium tokens. So the game does come with player aids, and on here we'll explain how you score and also what triggers the end of the game. Now, if you are playing with a two-player person or two-player game, you need to add these three little tokens here, these influence tokens in the Institute, just as a way to make it a little bit more difficult for two players. Because whenever you're scoring in the Institute, the first player marks, they get to score all of their cubes at 4 points, and the second person who has the most Institute tokens in there get to score 2 points each, and the third player gets to score each at 1 point. Now, since there are an extra 3 tokens in there from another color, you could still potentially get second or third place. So that's something to look out for, and make sure that you get some tokens in there so that you can at least tie with the robot type person. Now, so what triggers the end of the game is if 3 of these criteria are met, is if one player gets to 7 on the fleet track, if a person has 7 tokens on the Institute, or if a player has 7 helium tokens. Now, if the same person has met 2 of those criteria, then the game does end, but every player does get the same amount of turns. So if you're first player and you trigger the end of the round, second player does still get to have one last turn. Now let's get into your hand. Everybody is dealt 5 cards. I'll get rid of this one because I added that one there as an extra, showing you how to play. So you do get 5 players. Now, because we do have the collector's edition, our gold cards have a gold foil on it. Almost worth it just in that alone. So as you can see, the cards have the same number or same icon as the fleet track does, because that is victory points here at the top. So every single card will score those. And now when you're looking at it, you can see that there are characters on them. There are all different colors of cards. And the color of card is noted right here at the top. And those must always be shown up here on these locations here so that everybody knows what color is what, because copper does look like brown, yellow is similar to gold, and brown and the obsidian here are very similar in color as well. And that does help whenever you are looking for a specific card, because you have these abilities down here, which are your deploy abilities. Now, some of them here, this one is a specific one, this obsidian card, this 𝗘𝗆𝘆𝗏 one. It says you may gain 𝗧𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗧 or 𝗧𝗃𝗏 from this location. So if you are deploying this one onto a specific location and it has either of those 2 characters, then you get to regain this card and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 or 𝗧𝗃𝗏, which are these characters here. So it does give you a little bit of heads up of what they look like, so you can look out for them. Now, if you look down here, there's an extra benefit to pairing up your cards with specific ones. So this one, again, if you were to play it, you got 𝗧𝗏𝗏 or 𝗧𝗃𝗏. If you had either one of them, you would get an extra 10 points. If you got both of them, then you would get an extra 20 points. So this card totaling would be 30 points, which is a pretty good hand, or a pretty good card to have in your hand, as long as you have everything else to go with it. Now, all of the cards are very similar like that. You will get some in your hand that have these negative options here, these negative points, if you do not meet the criteria. So this one, if you just don't have those cards, you just don't get those extra benefits. But if you do have one of these cards with a negative point, then that's something that you need to look out for while you're playing the game to make sure that you get that card, or else it might not be that good to keep in your hand, because then essentially this card is 0. Now, when you're deploying a card onto either location of your choice, it is either going to be shuffling cards around, drawing new cards and either placing them behind that card or getting them to your hand, or even just going up on the fleet track, adding more cubes to the Institute, or collecting some more heliums. Now, there are some cards as well that'll, like I said, allow you to draw 2 cards into your hand. Now, there is a trick here. If you have over 7 cards in your hand, the 8th, 9th, 10th. Anything above 7 will be a minus 10 point for you at the end. Now, this game is a very high scoring game. I have gone anywhere from high 100s to almost hitting 400. So it is a high scoring game. So as long as you are triggering and chaining all of your cards in your hand, if 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗧 says, if this card gets an extra 10 points, if it is paired with a black. So you make sure that you have a black in your hand, or if you have other cards that maybe it says for every red or purple on the board, you score an extra 5 points. That might be a good card to keep around if there are plenty of those color type cards on the board in either of the locations. There are a number of cards that trigger only at the end of the game. So these can either be anything like these cards here, where it says that you can treat this card as having the same color as any specific character in the whole game. So say you don't have 𝗫𝗏𝗧𝗏 or 𝗧𝗏𝗆 here, you can essentially say that this card is that character and then still be able to score an extra set of points. Now, there are some where you can where they say that they can be the same color as any other. So now say this was a gold. This one here, you get an extra 15 points if it is with no other gold. Now say this was gold and it had that option down there, then you can change it to an orange and then go ahead and collect that extra 50 points. There's this one right here, which is also an endgame trigger. This one says that you can reveal the top card of the deck and you can gain points equal to that card's core value. So not only is this worth 15, but now it's worth 35. So that is another card for that. And this one, again, at the end, this one says that you may gain any number of these banished cards, 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, 𝗓𝗏𝗏, or any reds. Now, we don't have any of those in this discard pile, but if you did, then you could go ahead and score any of those. Now, keep in mind that if you have over 7 cards, then you will still get those negative 10 points for each and every one of those above 7 cards. Now, this one right here is a unique one. This is a block. It will allow you to block anything because some cards say that an opponent has to either discard a card, banish a card, or you need to take a resource from the opponent. Now, this will allow you to block that and they will not be allowed to do it and you will be safe. Now, as far as cards go, that is most of the abilities that I have covered. Even though some of the abilities are still the same, all of the cards are completely different with characters and the abilities that they trigger as well. And all of them are a bunch of different colors. I have not personally read any of the books, but as soon as I saw that this was coming out, I definitely jumped on it and I really, really wanted it. Mostly, well, because I think these tokens right here as the helium are really cool. I like that all the cards are all different. All the different colors. A colorful game to me just is really, really nice on my eyes. I really like it, and I feel like because of all of these cards that are completely different of looks and names, really weird names that I would have never have thought of coming up with, it definitely adds to the game. And definitely, like, I would say it goes to theme. I did look this game up and I did look up the books, so I know just a little bit about it, so that really helped with playing the game. And it's neat to see because all of the colors are all like based in a society, right? So reds are the lowest, golds are the highest in society, and it's really neat to see the artwork and how it depicts where they are in society. The artwork is really well done too. I really enjoy the artwork on here. All just different, and it's they kind of go with their colors too, right? Like big and bold and just rich looking for gold, right? And then gray, like military almost, and then obsidian here where they're just really cool looking skull guys. So, and then copper, I don't know, you kind of get a feel for all of the characters and everything and kind of what they are. So, and you can kind of tell by the color of them too, kind of what their benefit is going to be as well. So that's most of the cards. Now, you really don't get through much of the cards in this game because there are so many, which is great because there's always something new coming out. Now something, because there are a lot of cards and this game is mostly cards, right, on this board, they do shuffle around a lot, and it kind of drives me nuts because everything has to be in a nice line, and I'm not able to control that in this game. So I think maybe if something like a double board might have helped a little bit, at least to keep things a little bit more tidy in there. Something else that I will say are a nice touch to add these in here, because it comes in handy, right? Because you can really have anywhere from 5. I've played a game where I had 10 cards, so it does come in handy, but they are just a little bit unsturdy. They're not that sturdy. So for us, whenever we're playing this game, it's kind of in between games. We found it a little bit on the lighter side. It's pretty easy because it really is just cards, right? So you're trying to link up your cards with all the benefits that are down at the bottom, making sure that you can line everything up so that you can link them up really well, so that you're continuously scoring and benefiting from every single card, and therefore gaining a lot of points. I won my last round, but we'll see. Or not my last round, my last game, I won. Surprisingly, I know. But I did enjoy how you can link your cards. I found it quite easy, actually, because a lot of the cards, they have the same benefit. So as long as you can get the general ones to link up like that, and then kind of focus more on the cards that are a little bit more specific, like that obsidian card that I had where you needed the 𝗧𝗲𝗆, or that other card, 𝗧𝗕𝗍𝗆. So working on those ones a little bit harder. Now, what I did find is that once you get your hand to exactly what you want, you know exactly how many you're scoring. My best game, each card was scoring me like almost 40 points each. So linking them up definitely worked. But I found myself, after I gotten my cards all dealt with, because I was focusing mostly on that, instead of leading, I was ending up, for the rest 5, 6 maybe rounds, I was just scouting. So I was basically just flipping those cards and gaining the benefits so that I could score that much further once the game was triggered. So I do find the way that this game links up, because depending on what you take priority over in the game, whether it be setting up your cards or trying to gain 10 here on the fleet track, which is 43 points, which is still pretty big. But like I said, we scored the games anywhere from like almost 200 to almost 400. So it is a high scoring game. So you're definitely looking to use your cards and really get the highest, most points that you can that way for this game. But you kind of have the choice of what you want to do, and I really did find that your focus was on getting the cards that you really wanted. So there is a little bit of luck too, but luckily there are cards that let you shuffle through and cycle through those cards a little bit. So I think that at a higher play count, you're definitely going to get a lot of those cards out and hopefully get the cards that you really do need. So I think that playing at a higher player count, you'll definitely get higher scores because more of those cards are coming out. So with a 2-player game, we played 2 players and we played 3 players, and I actually did play solo too. So we did find that at 3 players, the score did get higher. We did have quite a few high games with 2 players too, but we definitely saw a lot more cards come out at 3 players, and it was definitely a lot more fun, and I don't even think that it lasted as long. Now with solo, I'll touch a little bit on solo because I did play it, so why not? So the way that you're playing with solo is that you're still playing with technically 2 players. You're doing your own thing, whereas the solo part of it, like the automated person, which, what did they call? 𝗘𝗍𝗆𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗕𝗅, which is kind of cool. So you play, and that is the character. So after your turn, she gets a go at it, and you're basically, instead of taking cards from her hand like you're doing with your own hand, you're taking from the deck, and she gets to keep them and collect them. Now at the end of the game, so you're basically playing the exact same way, she just gets to collect those cards. She doesn't necessarily collect many bonuses and doesn't really score them that way. Now whenever all of those cards that she is collecting, she doesn't score the top point here. There is an option, so based on how many cards are on the board, whether most of them are even, most of them are odd, there is a card that comes with that, and that is the points that she's going to score highest for. It is the matched. So if it's even, she's going to score 6 points for all her even cards in her hand, and if they're odd, she's only going to score 3 points for each of them. I did lose because she actually does collect a lot of cards throughout the game, especially if you prolong it trying to get more better cards and try to link them up in your hand. So that's something to think about when you are playing solo, is just to keep in mind that she's just continuously collecting cards while you're trying to make up your mind or trying to collect more points, right? So that's something to look for. I would play this game again solo. It was super easy. I think it probably took me a little bit more time. I only did play it one time, so I think as you continue on and play more games, it will get easier. So overall, I am really happy that we did get this game because it is a later game, so it's easier to get it to the table. It's just something that we either play before we start playing heavier games for the night, or if we're swapping out a medium-sized game for another game, then we can get this one in the middle, kind of refresh our brain and get us started for the next game. So like I said, I do enjoy this game. I am super happy that we did get it. So if you are looking to play this game, or maybe you are having second thoughts, or you're just not sure, if you do have the opportunity to play this game, I would suggest that you do play the game. And when you do, please let me know down below what you think of it. Anyway, this was my overview and my review on Red Rising. I'll catch you guys next video. Wait, what? What is happening? What is happening? I don't understand this.